Welcome to Dodgers Daily. Dodgers Dog is part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. Fans, we're going on a little bit sooner than we normally do today on a Sunday, but that's because I have Oklahoma State softball tonight. I have Oklahoma State baseball. OSU plays them Longhorns of Texas. OSU had a big win yesterday against Louisville, so big games there. So a lot of going on tonight, and I have a lot of I want to talk about with Dodgers baseball, and super excited about getting to come on here and talk about the Dodgers. Going to have just a cram-packed show today. Coach Holt's going to join us here in a minute whenever I get him on the line. Coach Berokoff is going to join when I get him on the line as well. They're going to give us each about 20 minutes of their time. And then I have just a jam-packed Down on the Farm to show this afternoon on Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Super excited about getting to talk about Dodgers baseball on the eve of the week where games start. The Dodgers take on the Cubs on Thursday. And, you know, hey, it's one thing to get to camp. It's another thing. What's up, Chuck? Thank you so much for joining. And again, I figured we'll have probably a smaller crowd, kind of like I did the other day, because it is basically mid-morning to early afternoon on the West Coast. That is okay, because again, I'm crunched on time today, and so I wanted to make sure and get this in, and so we'll see what kind of crowd we get. So if you can get on the horn and let everybody know that you know that Dodgers Dogs is part of the Dodgers Daily Network is on, and we are getting ready to talk Dodgers baseball, some prospect talk, and everything else. Get on the horn and let's get a good crowd and let's talk some Dodgers baseball. So good afternoon, Gregory. Good afternoon, Chuck. Good afternoon, Timmy. Good afternoon, Victorious Secret. Yeah. Hey, getting ready to talk some wonderful Dodgers baseball. So wanted to get into, before we bring in Coach Holden again, I've got him. He's going to dial in, and as soon as I get him, we'll head over to him. But wanted to talk about some of the comments that Andrew Friedman made. And I really wanted to reiterate, if you go to the interview, I know Sportsnet LA, they have that entire interview on. If you just go to X and you click that, then they have a link where you can watch the entire interview. It's just absolutely awesome. I thought the questions that were asked of Andrew Friedman were absolutely fantastic. And the one thing that I wanted to really kind of accent with Andrew Friedman and with Dave Roberts, actually, and we're going to talk about his conversation as well with the media, is just the open factor of which they talk. You know, so many times press conferences are frustrating for me because it's just coaches talk and it's just the company line, it's this and that. But I tell you what, when you talk to Andrew Friedman and definitely Dave Roberts, you don't get that. You get real answers. You get answers that actually give you information that you didn't have before. And I just thought Andrew Friedman, the way that he was able to order the way that he answered questions, but also give answers that had meat to them, that had, you know, just substance that we can take from that as Dodgers fans and be excited about. I just thought it was phenomenal. Every time I watch Andrew Friedman talk, I learned something about public communication, about how it actually is possible to be very in-depth, be very truthful, but then also order things in the way that you want people to perceive the way that you're ordering them. So, for instance, you know, it's with the conversation about the Hae-Sung Kim and Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Roki Sasaki, he wanted to make really clear that the first goal in getting those guys and the reasons why they got those guys was because they felt like those guys fit the roster in a way that put the Dodgers in a great position to win. So he made it very clear the goal, the reason why they got them was to win. But then as he looked around as they went to Korea and these different places, they saw how passionate these fans were towards baseball. Then they looked around and they saw all these different hats on from these fans. Like, you know, you had Angels hat, he mentioned a couple of different organizations that people were fans of. And he's like, you know what? If we can get players that will fit our roster, that will help us win a World Series, and dominate this market, wow, how big of a deal would that be? And that's exactly what the Dodgers have done. So they got Roki Sasaki, make no mistakes about it, and Andrew Friedman was just absolutely, totally elegant and just masterful in his public communication skills when he was communicating this in his interview. They got Roki Sasaki because they felt like he can help them win a World Series, and he fits the roster. They got Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Hae-Sung Kim because, number one, they felt like those guys were guys that were going to help them win another World Series. Shohei Ohtani speaks for himself. Now, that's the cake, right? But then he went on. He didn't stop there. He talked about being able to eat your cake, too, while we're winning a World Series, we're also developing a culture, an Asian culture, that hopefully when we go back, we're going to see way more Dodgers hats than we are any other organization. And then we can start cornering the market in a rabid fan base part of the world, which is Asia. So you're getting the best of both worlds. You're adding elite talent that moves the ball forward towards winning world championships, while also marketing and cornering a very rabid market towards baseball. It is an absolutely amazing approach. And of course, you have to have money to do it. I'm not going to hide behind that and say that it's easy to do. But so you do have to have money. But it's an amazing approach to what really strikes me is that, hey, yes, winning is great. Hey, yes, being popular and making money is great. But we're the Dodgers. We want it all. And so what he was telling you as a Dodgers fan is, as a front office, we want it all. We want to win and also make more money than everybody else and be the most popular brand of any other team in baseball all at the same time. You know, it's kind of like when the Yankees in the 70s, when they had Reggie Jackson and they had all these guys, you know, Reggie Jackson, a lot of people loved to not like. And then Billy Martin was always throwing a fit and this and that. And then even in the early 2000s, when the Yankees won so many times in a row, people didn't like the Yankees because I'm one of them. And that's one of the reasons why I'm a Dodgers fan, is because I felt like the Dodgers always, it felt like, I may be wrong here, but it just felt like to me the Dodgers were the underdog to the Yankees. And me being an Oklahoma State fan, we've always been the underdog to OU, right? And that element kind of appealed to me. So I say that to say there's a lot of people that have grown a hatred towards the Yankees only because they have just been great. They've won, 27 world championships, and people get tired of that. The same way people start not liking the Chiefs because they've won too much, right? And so Andrew Friedman building this worldwide dynasty, this worldwide appeal, is really controlling a narrative. Not that it would matter, but it still does, because of you want to be the most not just the best brand and not the most successful brand, but also being the most popular brand. He's starting to control that narrative as well with this organization, to where the Dodgers can win all this, but yet not become the most hated team. And it actually, on the vice versa of that, become the most popular team in the world. To be able to win multiple championships, win enough to create a dynasty, and then also become the most popular brand in the world, that's a trickier thing to do than you think. And boy, he is just doing a masterful job of it. So if you have not checked out that Andrew Friedman conference yesterday, please do. It was just simply fantastic. And another part of that is, I thought it was simply fantastic, and we're going to get into this a little bit with Coach Holt, how he put guardrails around Roki Sasaki. He mentioned that last year, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, there was no playbook to it because Yoshinobu Yamamoto had never been in the major leagues. And because of that, it's like a day-to-day thing. Go back and listen to his comments about Roki Sasaki. If you read between the lines, what he is telling Dodgers fans is temper it. Hey, we think Roki Sasaki is great, and it very well may be that he's the greatest pitcher in baseball from day one. But just like Yoshinobu Yamamoto last year, we don't have a playbook on this. And because we don't have a playbook on Sasaki, this is a situation to where we're going to play it day by day. We're going to see how he feels and how he recovers and all of that. And then also on the Shohei Ohtani deal, when he was asked if Ohtani's going to pitch, he said, absolutely, of course. He also mentioned there's no playbook to that. And so I just thought the openness of, hey, we don't have a playbook on this. We're going to play this day by day. So you saw the openness in him to answer that question. And while he was doing it, you saw the lack of ego that the Dodgers approach each player with as far as their plan goes and how to deal with them. And the other part of that is he was going, he mentioned that every plan for each player is individualized, which is just simply fantastic. And he was literally explaining to you exactly how each plan for each player is individualized. I'm telling you, I've been in competitive athletics. I've been in charge of teams. I've been the head coach of teams. I've been assistants to Hall of Fame coaches. I've been around. I've coached major leaguers. I've this and that. Every experience there possibly is. Okay, and I'm just telling you, the matter in which the Dodgers front office conduct themselves, the way that they individualize the plans, the way that they not cater, the different word, individualize what each player needs, the way that they game plan, creating a roster, creating depth, and doing it in a way to where everybody's on the same page. There is no ego. And the only goal, there's a saying in sports, especially high school and college, you always put the kids first. The only goal is to put the player first, always. It's absolutely super impressive. So it's the most impressive thing I think I've ever seen with my own eyes from up front. And I have a little bit different perspective because I get to see it on the minor league level. And then I get to see why it's like that every time I hear Dave Roberts speak or Andrew Friedman speak. And it just blows me away. I'm just so impressed. I'm just so proud to be a Dodgers fan every time I see another example of the type of class and the type of no ego, the type of player first mentality, growth mindset, everybody on the same page. We're all in this just to try to win. Very honest about don't get complacent. We're not going to allow it. You notice that comment he made. Can't get complacent. We made sure that they didn't. Again, super, super impressive. We have an absolutely awesome crowd, just 1,000% better than I ever thought it would be on a Sunday afternoon. Gregory, our wonderful moderator, thank you so much for joining. Daniel Ashford, hey, folks, thank you so much for joining. Carlos Garcia, Michael Romero, Craig Osterberg, Neil before Zod 21. Let the haters hate. BC, good afternoon. Timmy, thank you so much for joining. Justin Lamas, good evening from Frances. Hey, thank you so much for joining all the way across the pond over in France. Gregory, can these international players skip the draft? I'm not sure exactly what you might rephrase that. I don't know. International players aren't drafted. They are actually just signed as free agents. So I'm not exactly sure exactly what that. I think you might be talking to CNAB there. Hey, Gilbert met Jesse, the most popular, powerful, and potential team. Totally agree. Chuck Huddleston and Friedman, we trust. Guys, I'm telling you, Andrew Friedman is legendary good at this. Okay, Brandon Gomes, legendary good. I'm telling you that Billy Gasparino, legendary good. You might not want to believe this, but Dave Roberts, most of Major League Managing is communicating. And one thing that professionals want is they want the truth, okay? They want the truth in the way that, hey, don't beat around the bush. Tell me how it is. Now, they don't want you to just straight up come out and just be a jerk about it, right? But they want honesty, and they want openness, and they want to be respected, and they want their manager to have their back. And there is nobody better that fits those qualities than Dave Roberts. So I thought it was very cool that Dave Roberts also mentioned it's important to him to get an extension. He could have said, we're not worried about that. That's, hey, we're just worried about winning games, this and that, giving the company line. He didn't. Just like Andrew Friedman, he gave exactly how he felt, right? And then also he mentioned that, hey, we talked last show about And I went a little bit overboard because I'm not a fan of Aaron Boone, and I'm certainly not a fan of Alex Verdugo, who started this whole thing. But I did go a little bit overboard and probably a little bit too strong on my thoughts towards the Yankees. But I thought Dave Roberts answered it perfect. Hey, we're not worried about them. You're celebrating, and I think what he didn't say this, but if you read between the lines, it's a celebratory comment on a podcast. Probably wish they didn't say it, but I'm not going to make them apologize, and I don't care, and I'm not worried about it because, again, they did say it in a celebratory fashion and on a podcast, that kind of deal. So he pretty much just put that to bed, and I thought that was a cool way to approach that. Hey, CNAV, Casey, which NL team will be our closest competition? Philly, New York Mets, Atlanta, San Diego, or Arizona? San Diego, I think, still has the ability to beat the Dodgers. I love what Arizona is doing. Do not sleep on Arizona. I think Arizona is the second best team personally. The Phillies, they have all that experience, but I think Arizona, if they put it all together, they have the piece. So there's a difference between which team is the best and which. But when you come to, everybody's good, right? When it comes down to like professionals and like elite type of teams, it comes down to the type of matchups. So I think what Arizona can do is an overall worse matchup for the Dodgers. We had a show on this about a month ago where Austin went over all the NL West teams. I think San Diego probably has the best players at the top end. So if you let the best players for San Diego beat you, then obviously I think they have the best top-end firepower. But consistently throughout the roster, I think Arizona has the most kryptonite for the Dodgers. So I think they would be the team that would probably concern me the most. Of course, you got to be worried about the Phillies and their hometown, their awesome home field advantage, their incredible playoff experience, and their very good talent. But I will say this, if the Dodgers play as well as they possibly can, there is really no close second place to this roster the Dodgers have put in place. But as Andrew Friedman said, hey, you never know as far as injuries go. I mean, they thought they had everything taken care of last year, and they didn't. They still had to use the trade deadline. He mentioned that too. So yeah, I don't think there is a real close second place. I think the Dodgers, it's up to them. It's up to the Dodgers. If they want to play well, they win. If they don't, then they come back to the rest of the pack. And I think if that does happen, I think Arizona is a team that has the most amount of kryptonite for the Dodgers. Chuck Huddleston Roberts is getting better. He's not set in his ways. He absolutely is not. You cannot be a manager of the Dodgers and be set in your ways. I see it with Scott Hennessy at the AAA level. By the way, also, Coach Holt's going to hit on this here in a minute. I'm going to ask him about it, and I know he wants to talk about Eric Wedge, who was he's in the Missouri Valley Hall of Fame for his career at Wichita State. He was a nemesis to OSU in some of those Oklahoma State 80s teams that were awesome. The Robin Ventura teams and all those teams that were just awesome at OSU that went to the College World Series 7 times in a row, were in the finals 3 times. Eric Wedge was awesome at Wichita State. He was like the nemesis. I'm so glad to have him on my team now. By the way, he was a manager of the year with the American League. I think American League Manager of the Year in 2005, I think was the year with Cleveland. Eric Wedge, he has been named the AA Manager of the Tulsa Drillers. So I can't wait to meet him. I've never met him. I know that I didn't like him when he was at Wichita State because he was very tough for Oklahoma State to beat. But how about that? You get a Major League Manager of the Year coaching your AA team. And you have Scott Hennessy, who's one of the most popular figures in all the Dodgers organization. You bring back Jair Fernandez at your high A level. You still have Dave Anderson and Richard De Los Santos as your pitching coaches. I mean, you have Shoemaker and Sean Coyne. You have Ramon Troncoso, who has major league experience down there working with your single A pitchers, with John Shoemaker as your manager, who's just one of the most legendary Dodgers of all time. I mean, yeah, this is great at the top, but my gosh, they've got it from the bottom to the top. I mean, you're talking about Juan Apodaca is your freaking manager of your complex team. Juan Apodaca, when Hennessy had cancer, took the AA Tulsa team and held them together and did a great job. Juan Apodaca could be a AA, AAA manager right now. He's the manager of your complex league. John Shoemaker, legend, absolute legend. He is the manager of your single A team. One of your pitching coaches is Ramon Troncoso. They call him Tronky. Pitched in the major leagues. At the single A level, Jair Fernandez, rock star. Hey, if you don't believe me, Dave Anderson, how good he is, just go back to our interview that we did. The pitching coach for the High A Great Lakes Loons, Dylan Nishotka, hitting coach, just absolutely awesome for Tulsa. AA manager Eric Wedge was a Major League Manager of the Year. Scott Hennessy, one of the most popular figures in the organization. So up and down, man, I mean, this organization has it figured out. They have greatness everywhere. So if you can't tell, I'm still on cloud nine. We're getting spring training started. I just can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm so proud to be a Dodgers fan. Not just because the Dodgers are buying Shohei Ohtani, but because they put Shoemaker in place, because they just went and hired Eric Wedge, because they're just such first class in the way they communicate and individualize each plan and put the players first, because that's the way this organization works with no ego. I've never been more proud to be a Dodgers fan, and because of that, I've never been more excited to start spring training. So, hey, Cole, not one Dodger said the Yankees didn't belong. That narrative is coming from them. Dodgers pointed out the flaws everyone knew about, including Yankees fans. The flaws showed up. Blame yourselves. Yep, we talked about that on their last show. Again, I probably was a little bit too strong in showing my disdain and dislike for the Yankees. Not going to hide that. I don't like the Yankees. I'm not an Aaron Boone fan. Can't stand Alex Verdugo and the comments he made, so I'm sure that played a lot into not necessarily my opinions, but the severity of which I expressed them on the last show, which if I erred there, it wasn't in what I actually said. It was probably in the severity of which, in the way that I did say it. So, hey, neither one will be on the team by 2026. Yeah, Benjamin Su's son, Ohtani, throwing 94 means he's throwing at least 99 in season, and absolutely first-class organization, first-class players. Douglas McWilliams, that's another aspect of it. There is no classier organization than the Dodgers. I see it every day. Even if there is a celebratory comment or whatever, I'm going to be like Dave Robertson, like, you know what, this is the classiest organization. It has the classiest people in it. It kind of is what it is. So we're going to move on past that. But, hey, I just got Coach Holt on the line. So I've got him right here on my right. I'm getting ready to bring him over. So I don't want to make him wait any longer. Let's get to Coach Holt and let's bring him in right now.
It's not a real game. We all get that, but it is scrimmages. In this case, it's spring training. You can see a lot of things. The coaching staff, the front office is going to see a lot of things. The players.
Hey, Coach, great to see your face again. I really appreciate you joining Dodgers Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Dave Network on a very busy Sunday for you as we get ready for a snowy week here in Oklahoma. But, hey, Coach, I wanted to talk about games starting this week. It's all the time, man. You do all these drills, and it just gets monotonous. As exciting as it is to get spring training started, guys always want to get the games going. So that's really exciting for this week.
Yeah, it's true in any sport case. Yeah, by the way, great to be with you and with our Dodger Dogs again today. hitting off some other pitcher. I mean, if they're taking live BP, whatever they're hitting off their guys or doing them, whether you get to see somebody from the Cubs in this case, I guess, go see some different pitchers. You get a different look, and it's game situation. It's even the same way in high school we had case. I think some schools started Saturday, some are going Monday as far as their scrimmages. There's nothing like, it's not a real game. We all get that, but it is scrimmages. In this case, it's spring training. You can see a lot of things. The coaching staff, the front office is going to see a lot of things. The players themselves are ready to play games. That's what they do. They train year round. That's what they do, but they're also ready to play games. There's nothing like it because anytime you go game situation outside of inter squad, it's a good deal.
Yeah. And watching Andrew Friedman talk yesterday, Dave Roberts talk, so impressed. We mention it all the time, how the culture in this system, I know where I wear people out with that term, but sorry, I'm just going to keep doing it because it absolutely matters with the Dodgers. Let me go ahead and flip you on your right there where we can actually get you the right side up right there. Okay, very good. So they mentioned several times, Coach, and if you caught on to Dave Roberts and especially Andrew Friedman, the growth mindset. Very open with the fact that, hey, we have new players. Shohei Ohtani, we've never pitched with him. Roki Sasaki, we don't know how his day-to-day after he pitches, recovery, how he's going to handle the travel, all that. So there's a lot of new variables. And he was very open with the fact that, hey, there's no ego here. This is a growth mindset. So I was very impressed with the fact that they haven't pinned themselves into any one way of doing things. They're just going to take this as they see fit, what's best for each and every day as they wake up.
I think we talked about this last time we were together, Case, of what they're looking at. Like you said, a lot of new here. Shohei is coming off an injury as far as a pitcher. Sasaki, Kim's new to the ball club. You know what he did in the past, but he's new to the ball club. So that's the great thing about getting the game situation, that you can start the real evaluation, if you will, real evaluation of the players, the new guys that have come in. That you're trying to plug in, where are you going to plug them in? The Dodgers are lucky to have a lot of hybrids. I call them, whatever you want to call them, Swiss Army knives, guys that can play a lot of positions. They got a lot of that, so they've got a lot of things they can do. Maybe all major league clubs that way. I don't follow them. I just follow the Dodgers, but they've got a lot of leeway there and some things they can do. But, yeah, I totally agree. They're all locked in on the growth, and the culture is what you said, Case. We can't wear that out enough because it's proof in the pudding. It's been that way for several years, and I won't go back. I won't make the Dodger dogs mad when I go back to talk about previous ownership, because I ticked them off. I want to go there. Well, in the recent years, with our front office staff on down, the growth, you can sit in from the front office. I know you've had some interviews. Billy Gasparino, some of those guys you've talked to have mentioned all that stuff. Everybody's growing and learning from the player personnel people all the way down. And it's a great time to look at some of that stuff. And there will be a lot of growth during the spring in a lot of ways. There's nothing set in stone right now outside who your top three hitters are.
Mm-hmm. And talking about Ha-Seong Kim, and you're talking about Roki Sasaki, Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So you're talking about an international market.
Yep.
And I thought it was very interesting how Andrew Friedman ordered the way that he talked about this. I talk about the Dodgers having their cake and eating it too all the time.
Yep.
So he was very clear to say, we did not get any one player for any other objective other than we thought they gave this the best chance to win. So he was very first and out front, first wanting to say everything's about winning. But then he did go on to say, we're looking around and we're seeing all these different major league hats in this market. We're seeing this rabid fan base, and we're kind of thinking, man, if we can go get these guys, they might all be wearing Dodgers hats instead of different hats. So the cake and eat it too is the cake is you get these great players. Ha-Seong Kim, obviously, Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Roki Sasaki. And then you get to eat it too by being basically cornering the market in Asia. I thought that was just fascinating the way he ordered those comments.
No, and it's totally, it's great the way the Dodgers have done that. Like you said, you can have a plan and say, hey, boy, we really want to get the market in Asia, but you don't go sign players who you don't think can win. The Dodgers have already proven that. They're not doing anything. Like you said, have your cake and eat it too. Hey, wow, maybe one of the greatest players that ever walked the face of the earth in Shohei. And these other guys are outstanding players that have a culture in Japan. The Dodgers always had a great following worldwide, I think, and it's just going more into Asia now because of the Asian players. But like you said it best, Dave said it best. They've got guys who they can win world championships with.
Yes.
That's why they signed those guys. Just happens. And also, it's got a great culture because you got other guys in the clubhouse who they can relate to. And I know a lot of major league teams have the same situation, but the Dodgers have the best of both worlds. That they got guys they can win with, and the more Dodger hats, the better it is.
More calculation from Andrew Friedman. This guy is just world class in terms of actually saying something that matters, but then also being very calculated in the way that it's said and the order it's said. So when talking about his players, he is very careful to say, hey, everybody we have here, we're not worried about them getting complacent. They're true professionals. We know that they're not satisfied with just the World Series last year. Having said that, he did use the term complacent, didn't want any complacency whatsoever. And that was part of the motivation of the A team or the A list offseason. So I thought it was interesting that he actually attacked that question from that perspective.
Yeah, I think we mentioned this last time again, Case. That's something the coaching staff will be looking at. I know the front office will be watching. They're watching workouts. They're going to watch every game also. But the guys in the trenches are your manager and your position coaches. I call them position coaches, your coaches that deal with players on an individual basis. They're going to watch for that stuff. But I think it speaks volumes how many guys showed up early to camp. They weren't pitchers and catchers that got there and started getting work done. There's probably a couple of ways of looking at it. They're not complacent. They want to win again. Like I said, I don't think anybody wins one world title and shuts it down. They're not complacent. They're wanting to get ready for the new season. And another thing, they were excited to get back and see their buddies because the last time they saw them was a big celebration and a lot of Budweiser and champagne flowing. So it was a good time. So they were wanting to get back with their guys in the situation, get to Camelback, great weather and surrounded by winners, surrounded by that culture, as you call it, and everybody calls it. And they couldn't wait to get back. You could tell. I'd be shocked if you have that. These guys are elite, the best players in the world. On the major league level, not just with the Dodgers. And if they're complacent, they're going to get replaced real quick, and they know that.
Yes. So Dave mentioned that, hey, the batteries have been recharged. Everybody's refreshed. We're all super excited to go. Of course, one of the byproducts of winning a World Series is that you have to play longer than everybody else, and you have to grind it for a longer period of time, so you have less time to recharge your batteries. And when you have an older roster like the Dodgers, sometimes that can actually work towards a deficit towards the next season because you feel like maybe, hey, we need to start a little bit slower in spring training because we need to let these guys have a little bit more time that these other clubs got that they didn't to recharge their batteries. He hit that right on the head, said, man, we're all refreshed. We're all ready to go. Did you believe that? And what did you take of those comments with him?
I totally believe that because I think these guys are true professionals from Dave and the coaching staff on down. Good God. I mean, they had a lot of celebration to do and they got it. I'm sure they got it done. Get to a beach, whatever you do, go somewhere with your families and kick back and get away from baseball for a while, let your body recharge and everything. But like I said, it goes back. Me and you felt the same way on our level, Case.
Yes.
Your memory. What's your last memory of this deal? It was outstanding. I can't wait to do this again.
Yeah.
We're shooting for it again. The Philadelphia Eagles are feeling the same way. You used to hear the Chiefs said the same thing last year. They're wanting a three-peat. Nobody gets complacent on that stuff. And I totally believe about it. I think the guys, especially the guys who fought injuries, Freddie was a true warrior, not only one of the greatest, players in baseball, but a true warrior for the team and himself and represented everything. And, obviously he needed some rest, getting over some surgeries and stuff like that. And some of those guys needed a little bit more quote unquote rest than the others to get over some injuries. But, they're not, and they're also not getting fat and getting, back in the old days, used to drink beer all winter and everybody looked like Pablo Sandoval when they came back, so you don't have that much anymore. These guys work out year round. And like I said, we right here, I see Matt Holliday looks like he could step out there and play right now, at his age. So these guys continue to work out. They're always in great shape. That's not a problem.
More on the growth mindset. Andrew Friedman said point blank, there's been no organization that's been more aggressive at trying to figure out how to keep your pitchers healthy, and nothing really has worked to this point. So basically what he said was, if you read the code that he was speaking in at that time, is that you just simply can't have enough pitching. You can't have too much pitching. He went into last year how they felt like, hey, we got all of our needs addressed in the offseason. You have all these injuries. Got to use the trade deadline. And so basically what he said was, we haven't been able to figure out this issue. Nobody's been able to figure out this issue. It goes probably back to the way the kids are treated when they're like 8, 9, 10 years old, and they come to us with these situations already at hand. And so because of that, basically the way we're dealing with that is we're just stockpiling talent as far as pitchers go, because you can't have too much.
No, I think, we've talked about this a bunch in the past. It's not just a Dodger thing. It's a Dodger because we follow this closely. We know it's a Dodger thing, but I think it was the Braves or somebody last year lost their whole rotation last season. So,
yes, the Braves.
Yeah, I think it was the Braves. So the Dodgers year before. So like I told Kay, this is me and you and everybody in the history that loves baseball and loves the Dodgers. This could be like a 10-hour podcast, trying to get back to what the reasons are for that. I'm not smart enough to figure it out. I'm not a surgeon. I do have a problem with 10-year-olds having Tommy John, 12-year-olds doing Tommy John. But so I think it goes back to you don't. There's no one person or no one thing to blame other than kids are just being pushed more and more at a younger age. Of course, you got more guys throwing 90s in high school and hundreds in the minor leagues and college ball. So, there's that. But you also have the other end. You have way more injuries. So, that's a whole nother podcast that can last forever. We need Dr. Andrews, if he's still alive, and all that whole crew. And we know Tommy John can talk about his deal. But, there's a lot to that. But the Dodgers are right. I'm sitting there reading some stuff today. Got to do a little homework before I get back with you, since in the winter hadn't kept up with it like I should. And I'm sitting there talking about a short bullpen. I'm thinking, what the heck you talking short bullpen? But then I start reading that the guys are still coming off injury type stuff. That's correct.
Right.
They've signed some guys that are going to help in the pen there. But then there's several guys that coming off, start the season with a short bullpen. I think, what the heck, man? I have been sleeping this winter. But, I wouldn't take into account the guys that are coming back from injury who aren't quite there yet or not expected to be ready to go on opening day. So, but the Dodgers had a lot of options. Been very fortunate. The guys they brought up from the minor leagues in the past have done great. They didn't come up to fill a hole. They came up and performed very well, when they were on what they were asked to do. So if we get in that situation again this year, as far as the bullpen, I think they got plenty of starters. Yeah. What we can tell, they're starting, I guess, a 5-man rotation.
Yeah. Because of scheduling, yeah.
Yeah, be 6 when Shohei gets back. So everybody gets plenty of rest. And plenty of starters, but they'll. I have total faith in the pitching. The coaches and the manager front office. They'll have short bullpen as far as guys that are tested in the major leagues, maybe, but they'll have plenty of guys to get going. And like I said, the schedule may help out some.
Maybe 40, 50 years ago, you treated everybody like Woody Hayes, where you just tried to intimidate them or whatever. Yeah. Or, that stuff, that generation of coaching and kids were just taught how you do what your coach tells you to do, and you shipped into shape, right? So that's not – kids will still let you coach, and professionals will still let you go old school, disciplined, and hard on them. But you have to do it, I think, more – you have to have much more of a narrative, right? And things have to be much more individualized where they feel like you're really working for their benefit. So I thought the comments of we individualize as good as – hey, we have the best talent of any organization in the world, but then we individualize every plan more than everybody else does. You talk about having your cake and eat it too. I found that fascinating as well.
No, it's right. The Dodgers' plan is off the charts. It's been that way for several years. One of my favorite managers of all time, Jim Leland. The video still just saw it the other day again. Him with Mountain Barry Bonds and everything.
It's a different version.
And then you hear Barry talk about it now. He loves the guy.
Center again, Rose.
But he was letting him know, I'm the manager. If you don't like it, get the F out of here. That's kind of what. But Jim Leland didn't do that all the time with everybody. No. He wouldn't have lasted as long as he did. He picked his spots. He knew what to do, have a cigarette and chew a guy's butt when he needs it. But he wasn't in there ranting and raving all the time. That's why he's a Hall of Fame manager. But, that's a beautiful thing about that. That's been a long time ago, and he went crazy. And we all love the Augie Garrido, Texas Longhorn. You would never be people go nuts nowadays, even on the college level. But, the thing with the managers and players will still like to be coached. You'll still see them. They're probably doing it more. Hey, come down the tunnel with me. Let's go. Get out of the shot, because there's cameras everywhere. Not only from the networks and every game, but people in the stands who, hey, look at this. I've got video. So there's probably
and the cameras don't provide context. They just provide video. Right?
Absolutely. Yes. You can see Billy Martin mounting Reggie Jackson right there, but there probably still some of that goes on a minimal level, but they're probably going down the tunnel, out of view of the camera, straightening a young man out or an old man out, whatever the case may be, and going about your business. That's good. That's good managing. That's good coaching. That's good teaching.
You ever seen a communication line that's more impressive than the Dodgers? When you talk about Andrew Friedman, Dave Roberts, to the players, you heard Billy Gasparino in my interview. Coach, they don't duck questions. They answer every single question with meaningful responses. I just don't think I've ever seen an organization that's as unguarded and as open to talk as the Dodgers are. And it just creates communication lines that are just, I've never seen anything as impressive as the way they communicate.
Well, it's amazing, Case. Since the end result was a world championship.
Yes.
Think about the pressure that's on these guys.
Yeah.
Last year, from Friedman, the ownership group, the front office on down. Billy talked to you about some of that too.
Yeah.
Gasparino, think about the pressures on it from the players all the way down to the deadgum equipment guy and your trainers that are getting these guys ready to play every day. There's pressure everywhere, and the Dodgers. There wasn't a lot. You mentioned it best, the communication. You can just tell it's there.
It is.
With the players, the management, the front office, and you've seen it firsthand in Oklahoma City, being close down there when you work down there, and you go there quite a bit now there in Tulsa. So you're seeing it on a minor league level too. So it's not just something that starts in the big leagues. The Dodgers are using it all the way up, and we got our boy Henny going to Oklahoma City. Then we got a Major League Manager of the Year,
Eric Wedge doing
Tulsa Drillers. I mean, that's the organization we're talking about right here.
Yeah, man, it is super. And I cannot tell you, whether it's a AAA manager telling a player that he's going to make the major leagues, or telling a AAA player that he's getting jumped again, or telling him he's getting cut, or whatever. I've seen this, a AAA player, hey, you got to go back to AA for a couple of days. The Dodgers have done that. I wouldn't say quite a bit, but they've done it with multiple players. They did it in Choi last year. Alec Gamboa has done it. Several guys have done that. So Deck McGuire did it back in the day. And I can tell you, this is a very underrated aspect, but just open, honest communication, like, hey, dude, I don't know if you're going to like what I'm getting ready to tell you, but you are getting ready to hear the 100% truth, and it's up to you to how you want to deal with it, right? Professionals, I can't tell you how much they appreciate that.
Yeah, and I love it for the kids. I don't know Eric Wedge personally. I've never met him, even though he's a Wichita State guy. Yeah. Seen him play and seen him coach and seen him, whatever in the big leagues. But if you're in Tulsa and you're going, which I know if you're in Tulsa, your goal is to be a Major League Baseball player. Take advantage of that guy right there.
No doubt.
He's been there. He's played there. He's managed there. He knows what it takes to get there. That's great for them. If whatever he's got to tell you, he's got the proof in the pudding that he knows what he's talking about. So that's great moving all the way up as far as the manager situation, what these kids are going to be able to get from that. And like I said, Henny's proved himself all the way up to from the college level all the way up to the minor leagues. And he'll probably be in the big league someday being a coach or maybe even a manager somewhere because he's baseball through and through. So the Dodgers organization, you and Austin know more about the lower level managers than I do, but I keep up these guys because they're in Oklahoma. But the Dodger organization is in such good hands from top to bottom. And again, they deal with pressure. The Yankees are dealing with pressure. I don't necessarily like what Boone's got to say, but I like what Dave said about that. He's fighting for his players. Yeah. We don't talk about that. It is only a couple Dodger players, wasn't it? I mean, it was just a couple of guys. And
they were celebrating. I like the fact they're celebrating, guys.
Yes, they were celebrating. Maybe had a couple of brewskis and just talk. Heck, I talked crap that night they won. I was drinking while you were on the air with you guys. I'm glad nobody saw me that was at the Yankees, but
basically, what he said is they shouldn't have said it, but it was in a celebration mode, so we're just not even going to worry about it.
It's not a big deal. We're not talking about it. He's fighting for his players. He's not holding against Booney either. So, and the fact they brought up, I couldn't believe somebody brought up the fact about Mookie telling those two guys to F off. Dude, they grabbed his arm trying to pull him in the stand. This wasn't just interfering with a catch. They actually touched him and grabbed him. I don't blame him. Get the F off me. I mean, Mookie, whatever. I don't know how that got into the conversation. I get it with the guys on the podcast talking crap. But anyway, I like the way Dave handled it. And I'm assuming Boone's handled it the same way. Get over it. We got work to do. Let's go. We're the New York Yankees. He's got pressure on him, too. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Oh, yeah.
That dude's got – he's the New York Yankees. There's pressure there. Steinbrenner's not around, but there's some Steinbrenners around, so there's still some things going on there. So I like Dave's interview was great. I mean, in Friedman's, they're like you said, so open to talk about whatever. And I love Friedman, talking about Ohtani. There's no playbook for this. I was getting ready to Google it.
None.
You probably know this. When's the last time we had a two-way player in the big leagues there's
no playbook on this.
I remember Dion.
So we're going to play it day by day. We're going to ask him. We're going to communicate with him.
There's no playbook. I can't remember the last guy. I don't remember. Did Brooks Keichnick pitch and hit for the Cubs back in the day?
Boy, I don't know if he did in the major leagues.
It seemed like he did, but he wasn't on the level that we're talking about here with Ohtani.
No.
It's kind of like, Deion Sanders played two sports, but he wasn't like Bo Jackson. He wasn't an all-star in both sports.
Right.
Deion was a great football player. He was a good baseball player. Bo Jackson was a freak in both sports. So, you don't see that. But they weren't pitchers. That's the whole thing. So, like I said, they're going to trust Ohtani to tell him how he feels and what he needs to do. That's the great thing about it. We're not going to sit there and start dictating stuff. Hey, we need you. But we really need you. That's not going on. There's none of that crap going on in the major league level. So they're going to trust. They're going to learn from him as we go and moving forward. And in a couple of years on down the line, if it comes up again, they'll have an idea. Here's what we did wrong. Here's what we did right. Here's what we need to do. So that's great. They'll learn from him.
It's the no ego growth mindset. It's just unbelievably. And then the open communication that has created this incredible culture. But hey, Coach, great to see your face. I know you're very busy. Any final thoughts here? Do you know I love you? I
love you too, Case. Tell your dad hello. Hope he's doing well. And Mom and everybody. And love you too. My thoughts, I'm looking forward to games getting to start. I don't know how many I'll get to watch. I'll try. I know you keep up with it quite a bit, and you'll throw a lot of information out to me and all the Dodger dogs. You do a great job of that. You and Austin and all you guys are getting information out to us. I'm looking forward to games starting and just for the season to get going. We're getting closer and closer every day. It's great to be a Dodger fan, a Dodger dog. It's always great to be with you. I love you, Case.
Yeah. All right, Coach. Hey, more Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network right after this. So I want to thank Coach Holt for joining Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Just hung up on him. Just dialed up Coach Berokoff. So as soon as Coach Berokoff is ready and available, we will bring him in. But thanks to Coach Holt. I hope you enjoyed his comments and our conversation there. And then don't forget, we have about a 25-minute Down on the Farm segment. Now, we've talked extensively about Dalton Rushing, Alex Freeland, Josue De Paula, Zaire Hope, all of the sexy names. We've talked about those guys ad nauseum, right? And to be honest with you, I talk about all the time, top 30 prospects list or whatever are only accurate about 20-25% of the time. I actually have done the research on that, and I will have a show that goes into detail in terms of just how inaccurate top prospects lists, not my opinion wise, but just they have been from a statistical perspective in predicting either becoming a major leaguer or major league success, either one of them. And so not to get into the weeds of all of that, but I say that to say we've talked about all the top prospects, all those names that you've heard. We've talked about them extensively, and we will keep talking about them because they're obviously very good for a reason, and they've garnered all of that attention for a reason. But also it's very important to understand that there are a lot of other guys other than the ones that you hear all the time. And more times than not, those are actually the guys that make the major leagues, okay? If you just look at the track record of the Dodgers, the Brian Hudsons, the Gus Varlands, the Ryan Nodas, even like a Clayton Beeter or a Yorbit Vivas or a Trey Sweeney or somebody like that. So the Down on the Farm today is going to be guys that, kind of like our last one, this one's going to be quite a bit more in depth. You're going to hear from these guys themselves. It's going to be guys that are very, very talented and guys that you're probably going to see on the main field more than once. And when you see them, hopefully you'll feel like, hey, maybe nobody else knows who that guy is, but I do because I watch Dodgers Dogs, right? Ryan Zabrat, a side-slotting relief pitcher, Antonio Knowles, Damon Keith, guys like that. Carlos Duran. We're going to hear from Carlos Duran on today's Dodgers Dogs show. So we're going to hear from a bunch of guys that you really need to know who they are because several of these guys we're talking about are going to start in AAA Oklahoma City. And actually on the video, I have listed what level they are going to start out at most likely as far as when spring training breaks. Now, things are always fluid because as spring training goes, things certainly can change. But as of right now, I've listed where the guys on the Down on the Farm segment will start 2025. So super excited about the Down on the Farm. Griffin Lockwood Powell's another one. He's one of the non-roster invitees. We're going to talk to him today and cover him extensively on our Down on the Farm segment. Him and Damon Keith and Antonio Knowles, who has an elite slider, and Ryan Zabrat, who's a side slot type pitcher, Carlos Duran, who's 6'7", very talented. So make sure and stick around for the Down on the Farm. Again, we're waiting for Coach Berokoff to accept the invitation and hop on in. As soon as we get him, we will log in with him and get some of his thoughts. Yes, Casey, makes watching spring training more enjoyable. I really appreciate you saying that, Just Minks, when you recognize the name. So I think it's important, like last year was Kevin Gowdy. It's like, who in the heck is this guy? Or even like a Jose Ramos or somebody like that. And we'll cover them as they play. But again, it's comprehensive. It's more than just the top 4 or 5 names that you've heard, as exciting as they are. I don't mean to say that those guys aren't excited, because nobody, if you watch Dodgers Dawgs or if you watch any part of Dodgers Daily's the coverage, there's no 2 guys I'm more excited about than Edgardo Henriquez and Dalton Rushing. Those are my 2 most untouchable prospects. I said it last year when everybody was saying Dalton Rushing was going to get traded. I said the Jack Dreyer, the Maytag, was going to be the one that got protected. That happened. 2 years ago, Ryan Noda, I predicted that he was going to be the first guy taken in the Rule 5 draft. Gus Varlin predicted he was going to get taken in the Rule 5 draft. Jose Hernandez, we were the only one that even had him listed as even a possibility of getting taken in the Rule 5 draft. And I say that all to say that's because, like the Dodgers do, we pay attention to all the guys on the margins. And Andrew Friedman told you today, I thought it was the perfect way to put it. Okay, if we can find guys that help us on the margins, we give full attention to all of those details. Now, he did make it very clear. If we can find guys that can make an even more significant impact than that, that makes it even better. So I am looking forward to spring training as well, history man. Can't wait. And having said that, what are some of the things that you're most excited about with spring training? Obviously, seeing Shohei Ohtani pitch, that is, I think that's number one for everybody. That's whenever it's dominating all the videos on X and Facebook and Instagram and all of that. I think people want to see Sasaki. And then to me, the most exciting part of spring training is it going to be Haesung Kim, Andy Pages, or James Outman? Who's going to get that last spot? Okay. What are the Dodgers going to do with Chris Taylor? I think that's a very interesting part of spring training. Will Chris Taylor bounce back? Is there any way for any of the young pitchers like a Bobby Miller to make an impact and just bust through? What's going to happen with, I know we had a comment, Sammy Boy Smith, with Dalton Rushing. We have been telling you all offseason, and I know it doesn't seem real because it feels like the Dodgers are just so good in the front office that they will figure out every problem, and so it feels like we're inventing problems, but there is opportunity cost. Ryan Brazier had to get cut, right? Last year, James Paxton had to get cut. Dalton Rushing is not on the 40-man roster yet. Alex Freeland not on the 40-man. So the opportunity cost of Kike Hernandez is Andy Pages. The opportunity cost of Chris Taylor is Dalton Rushing or Alex Freeland. Okay, so this isn't just free whenever you re-sign all these veterans. And so unless you trade these guys, that's the one situation to where the Dodgers can't have their cake and eat it too. And so actually we have Coach Berokoff on the line. I'm looking at him right now. We're actually going to get into, he works for AAA Oklahoma City as well, and he really is in tune with these prospects, and I'm going to actually ask him, as he's listening to me right now, some of these comments, get some of his comments about this, because you've heard my comments about this plenty. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get right to it, and let's bring in Coach Berokoff. Coach Berokoff, what's going on, my man? I know you were hot and heavy with Oklahoma City University basketball. I reached out the other day. You were doing an in-person podcast for this, I believe, the Sooner Athletic Conference. But what the heck's going on, man?
Not much. Just trying to enjoy this Sunday. And we've got a couple games.
Coach Berokoff, what's going on, my man? I know you were hot and heavy with Oklahoma City University basketball. I reached out the other day. You were doing an in-person podcast for this, I believe, the Sooner Athletic Conference. But what the heck's going on, man?
Not much. Just trying to enjoy this Sunday, and we've got a couple games left in the season, and then it's full-on spring training baseball. We're almost there.
We are almost there, and starts this week. And Coach, I tell you what, very impressed. I talked to Coach Holt just a minute ago. He said to tell you good luck in the postseason and with all that, and to tell you hello. But hey, Andrew Friedman, we talked about a little bit, and him and Dave Roberts, super impressive people, Coach. But I wanted to address with you because I know you've hit this a couple of different times. They asked Dave Roberts about the contract extension. And instead of saying, oh, you know what, hey, we'll worry about that later and all that kind of BS that you know is not true. These guys are professionals. They want this stuff nailed down. He hit it right on the head. Hey, yeah, I hope I'm a Dodger forever. I hope we get this figured out. How cool was that?
Yeah, I mean, you and I are very passionate for Dave Roberts, and I was excited to hear him say that. He's top. He's the top. I mean, look at all these guys that want to come play for the Dodgers. I mean, we've talked about this before. Yes, it has a lot to do with it. The Dodgers are winning, and they've got this great team. But you want to have a good clubhouse, and the good clubhouse starts with the guy at the top, and that's Dave Roberts. And I think he's got to be the coolest manager in baseball, the most down-to-earth guy, and the most understanding. So I could see the Dodgers giving him a lifelong deal, letting him go out when he wants to go out, and I think that's the way it should be. He's brought a lot of joy and a lot of winning to the Dodgers.
Yeah, you mentioned the clubhouse and your favorite dude. You're the greatest player on earth is how you'll put it. Just the last signing here, Kike Hernandez, Coach, you were the first person I thought of. Of course, I think we all knew that was probably going to happen. Well, we all knew it was going to happen. It just had to happen. So tell us your thoughts about the Dodgers bringing Kike back.
Oh, thank goodness. I mean, like, I pay attention to who the Dodgers are signing and get excited and follow it, but I was just on pins and needles saying, if we don't bring Kike back, I don't know what I'm going to do. Because I don't want to have to watch his at-bats on another team like I've done before,
yeah.
And now he's with the Dodgers. It's a smart move. He gives you a lot of position eligibility. He's a great clubhouse guy. He wanted to be there. It all made sense. I could see Kike retiring there. I mean, I don't know how much he wants to play baseball. I think he wants to end it in L.A. Just a great signing. I think he just brings such awesome stuff to the clubhouse, and he keeps everybody relaxed. And I think it's just a smart move, very smart move.
Yeah, so I wanted to transition into this question, kind of a tougher conversation to have, but I know you'll have just a great perspective on this. And that does, hey, there's opportunity cost for every Kike Hernandez or Chris Taylor that you decide to bring back, and that is for an Andy Pages, for a James Outman, maybe for an Alex Freeland or a Dalton Rushing or somebody like that, right? And so I kind of wanted to make this statement. I posted the other day that it is frustrating. It's fun to see the Dodgers build a dynasty. It's going to be fun winning another World Championship, which is going to happen whenever that is. It's going to happen. The Dodgers are going to win another World Championship with this generation. But it's also frustrating to an extent to watch the opportunity cost take place. Was I unfair there?
No, I think you're referring to, obviously Chris Taylor. And I was watching him take at bats on some social media platform, and he looks really good. And what are they going to do with him? Because I love Pages. You love Pages. Mm-hmm. There's some good young talent there. Is Chris Taylor the guy that's going to get pushed out at the break, at All-Star break? Or you wonder what's going through his mind. Am I going through this spring training with all these guys that I've grown up with for the most part in this organization after getting traded there? Am I the guy that's going to be leaving? That's got to be hard for him. I think as fans, we look at it from a statistical standpoint with Chris Taylor. Oh, he didn't get it done, but there's a lot of attachment with Chris Taylor and the guys on this team and the management, and that's not just an easy move to say, hey, let's just get rid of Chris Taylor. I personally would love to see Pages get that spot, Dalton Rushing. I don't know if he's going to start with the main team. I think he'll maybe start in AAA unless he has a great spring. But CT3, I mean, that's got to be a tough part as a human being. I look from a human standpoint. It's easy to get on social media and bash guys, and they're not playing well, and then they're people too. And I just wonder what he's going through right now in this spring training, knowing that this team is great and has a chance to win some more world titles, and he wants to be a part of it. But I think in the back of his mind, he's looking at the numbers. Where do I fit in this team right now? And that's tough. I find that it's a tough thing for Chris Taylor right now.
So you're a Division I coach or you're a college coach that has to recruit players. You have to have a culture with this transfer portal and all this, a culture that kids not only want to come to you, then they want to stay. So you have to be honest. You have to have a culture they want to be around and all of that. So in the Chris Taylor scenario, for a guy like you, this is literally what you do for a living, is trying to make a culture where people want to come and stay, right? So which one's more important to you? Which one weighs more for you? The production part of it for Chris Taylor, or is it the human side of it? I mean, he's made all this money. He's rich. He's rich beyond what he could have ever imagined. But yes, there is a human side to it. So which part of that tugs on you the most from a guy who does this for a living?
It's the human standpoint.
Yeah.
Luckily, I don't have multi-million-dollar deals that are riding on this, and my livelihood is not riding on, is Chris Taylor going to hit 240 or is he going to hit $195?
Yeah, right.
From the way I look at it with Chris Taylor is I look at it, he knows these guys. They've got a great rapport in the clubhouse. You watch all the fundraisers that they do. He has his own stuff. He and his wife, they do all this stuff. You see them out and about in LA doing stuff with charity stuff and stuff with the team. And it's like, from the human standpoint, just saying, all right, let's send CT3 to Seattle, back to Seattle for a couple minor league guys. That's got to be a tough decision. Now, on the other side, on the business side of things, Chris Taylor makes sense to move.
Yes.
He makes sense to move. Now, you wonder, have they already talked to him about this? We don't get to know what's going on the inside, and when he has sat down with Dave Roberts or Friedman, maybe they've already said, hey, Chris, we're moving you. This is when it's going to be. You just don't know those things. I wish we could be a fly on the wall when he's having their meetings with Chris Taylor, but from a human standpoint, I want to see him a Dodger. I love him as a Dodger. It would be very difficult to see him like in an Angels uniform, right? Or a Giants uniform like that. It was hard enough seeing Justin Turner go to another team. I think for me, now I'm speaking in the 1% people out there, Casey, I would not like to see him move. But that's just me.
Yeah, we get to be around these prospects all the time. You work for Oklahoma City. I go to, get credentialed to the Oklahoma City games, get to interview them. Austin gets to be very close to them at Great Lakes. So I'm not going to apologize. We are protective of these prospects because we want to see them get their chance, right? So let me make this statement and let me see if any part of this is unfair if you're a prospect or one of their family members, if they're watching this show. Okay, we love the prospects. We want every one of these prospects to get their opportunity. We will fight for that, but I also want the Dodgers to win another freaking World Series. Matter of fact, I want them to win 4 or 5 of them. This is, as Kike Hernandez said, a roster that is fuller or more full than a Bad Bunny concert, right? And I'm super pumped about that because that gives the Dodgers the best chance to win the next World Series. And the only advice I can give you as a prospect is, if you get your chance, you better take advantage of it because this is a win now. You either produce or you're not on the roster type of situation. So is that too cutthroat of a message to give to a prospect for somebody like me?
No, not when there's millions and billions of dollars on the line and world championships. And when you spend this type of money, you're only spending this money for one thing, which is to win a world championship. So as much, Casey, as you promote the prospects, as much as I love them, Austin loves them, Coach Holt loves them, Pages and Rushing, if they want a shot, they better hit this spring. And I can say the same thing to Chris Taylor. He better be looking over his shoulder at these young guys. And I think that's where it's a tough decision for management to say, all right, do we rather have Chris Taylor sit the bench and he plays every 1, 5, 6 games, or is Pages a better guy to do that? So I'm sure there's a lot going into that. But me personally, as much as I love CT3, I love Pages, I love Rushing, I love our minor league guys. So it's tough. It's got to be this has got to be the one tough decision of the spring is what do you do with CT3 and what do you do with a Pages, an Outman, a Rushing, a Freeland? Like that's got to be a very tough decision. And I think it'd be a fun one to watch because every at bat for those guys is going to be meaningful in the spring.
Yeah. So am I justified for being completely schizophrenic? Like 1 second I'm going, hot damn, we're going to win 4 or 5. And then like 5 minutes later, I'm like, well, yeah, but so-and-so is not ever going to get his chance. I like go back and forth it's like I'm schizophrenic. Am I justified there? Make me feel better,
you've got a lot invested in these young guys. I think it's great. I mean, it's easy just to forget about them.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of Dodger fans do. And I think that's where I find it funny is that, well, they don't forget about them, but they hear a name, they clamor for them to come up. Yeah. They go 0 for 7, 2 strikeouts in an error, and then they want them gone. And then they say, why isn't CT3 batting? And then when Chris Taylor bats, why don't we have a rookie up? Why are we wasting at bats on this? So there's no it's yes, be schizophrenic about it. I think that's great. But this is what happens when you have management that is willing to spend.
Yes. Yeah.
This is why I love seeing the Mets guy saying he thinks they've got a better lineup than the Dodgers. Okay, bring it. This is what you want as a fan. I would much rather have this type of lineup and this pressure as a fan than be in the Minnesota Twins, right, or the Sacramento A's. This is going to be fun, and I think throughout the year when we talk, we're going to have a lot of discussions. It's going to be a lot of fun, and this is what the management has done. They've made it a lot of fun for us fans.
Yeah, you say it all the time, Coach. It's a lot easier to do something the second time you do it. I thought, we talked a lot with Coach Holt just a minute ago. The growth mindset, the open-mindedness, the lack of ego. Like, hey, there is no playbook to Shohei Ohtani. There was no playbook to Yoshinobu Yamamoto because we didn't know a whole lot about him. We feel like we have a lot better handle on how to deal with him this year, the second time around. And then he related that to Sasaki. He's like, we have no clue how this is going to work from day to day, how he's going to feel the day after he throws, the transition between starts. And so we're going to have to monitor that. I thought those comments from Andrew Friedman, and I thought of you immediately in your comments about, hey, you do better the second time around, and how Andrew Friedman addressed all that.
Yeah, I don't like to talk about my own coaching career, but one of my schools, we won 3 national championships in a row. The first one was the toughest.
Yeah.
The second one was really easy. I don't mean that it was easy, but it was. Yeah. We understood, and the third one we won. The third one was incredibly difficult, but you have an understanding of what it takes, the pressure. And then the Dodgers had won one a couple of years earlier, but to win it again, like you're saying, with all of these new guys and things we don't know. It's going to be much easier. They're going to understand the pressure that comes with having Shohei on your roster. Blake Snell is going to be interesting to see how I've always thought Blake Snell pitches better in a pressured environment. Myself and the baseball coach, Keith Lytle at Oklahoma City, we were talking about he thinks Snell's going to have a crazy great year because he says he's going to rise to the occasion to be. That's what Snell has always wanted. It's amazing to see what talent we have, the pressure that's going to come with it, how they're going to handle it. But I think the second time around, we're going to have a better understanding. I think management, Dave Roberts is. So it's going to be exciting to see all the chess pieces being moved around and the 6-man rotation and who starts when. It's going to be a fun spring to watch because I think if there's a battle with Chris Taylor, there's a battle within this pitching staff. Yep. I mean, you got Gonsolin, Dusty Maybach. You've got these high-end relievers. Ohtani is going to want to pitch. So it's going to be a fun spring. I think it's not going to be one of those springs where we could just sit back and say, oh, we're so talentedly loaded. There's a lot of moving pieces to this spring, and it's going to be fun.
I thought it was – I really felt like he put up guardrails around Roki Sasaki in the sense I really felt like his narrative was we know he's going to be great. We know he's extremely talented. We also know that he's never pitched in the major leagues, and we have never had him on our team pitching, so there's a transition period. I really loved how he put those guardrails around Sasaki, and I hope fans kind of caught on to that and they allow him to ease into this.
Yes, because I don't like to use this term, but it is what it is. It's when you have this new toy, you want to use it, and you want to see what it can do. Yeah. But he's too young to do that, in my opinion. It's like, let's ease into this thing. Like the excitement value from him is going to be outrageous. because there's so much. I don't want to say unknown, but it's going to be this brand new toy the Dodgers are going to unleash. And I wondered what his contract looks like. Is he going to start in the majors? Is he going to have some outings here in Oklahoma City? I don't know how that's all going to work. How many innings are they going to actually give him? How many do they project for him to have? I mean, 180 is a high amount. That's not what's going to happen. I wonder what that number is going to be. Where's going to be the medium for him on what he can pitch?
Yeah, I thought it was funny. They asked Andrew, "Hey, is Shohei Ohtani going to hit and pitch at the same time?" He was like, "Yeah, of course he is. Shohei Ohtani's going to hit and pitch at the same time whenever he's capable. Yeah, when he gets healthy." You excited for that?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yes. But I'm also nervous because it's like I don't want anything to happen to him. Like, it's okay to be satisfied with just him as our DH. I mean, he's the best player in the world at DH. But to pitch, the excitement is there to see what he could bring because when healthy, he's one of the top pitchers in baseball. And so, yes, I'm excited. I'm also, if there's anything I'm nervous about, is that. I don't want something to happen to that arm. And I just hope that we're not too excited and we rush him back, which I know the Dodgers won't. I mean, that's too much money invested in Shohei. But, I mean, we ought to be excited about that, right? I mean, just look what he adds to the Dodgers if he pitches.
Yeah. Nothing real new here, earth-shattering, but the comments on Gonsolin and Dustin May, yes, they are fighting for the 6th spot. They're both preparing to be a starter and that 6th starter, but they've both been told that they're likely or easily could be long relief, right? So I thought it was really cool how he was very open about those two guys' roles. That's pretty much what we've all been talking about all season, but to hear him verbalize that, I thought was really telling.
Yeah, and if those guys are going to be long relief, man, I'm okay with that. I mean, it's the way baseball is today. Starting pitching is not. It's not like what it used to be when Nolan Ryan was getting, Jack Morris were getting 35 to 38 starts a year and going 250 plus innings. I mean, Dustin May and Gonsolin as longer relief could be just as important as being the starter going forward. It could be really important the middle 4 innings for them. I mean, they could have a bigger role than what we anticipate as middle relief. And that'll save the staff and our setup guys that we have. So, I'm excited. Like I'm saying, that's going to be an exciting watch. Those two guys and how they look and how their velocity is, because those are 2 big pieces, really big pieces if they come back healthy.
People always want to see the shiny new toys, and they want to see all the Shohei Ohtani, and rightfully so. But I've always said, man, it's the Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin battles and the Andy Pages, James Albin, Ha-Seong Kim battles. Those are the ones that excite me the most, intrigue me the most about spring training. But last conversation here, a topic here, Coach, and I kind of want to get your thoughts on this. Let's say that Andy Pages is in center field, and you got Teo in right and Conforto in left. Not a great defensive outfield. Max Muncy, not a great defender at third base. Shortstop, Mookie Betts, we don't know what type of defender he's going to be there. With all of this star-studded roster, with all these billions of dollars, all these expectations, as a Dodgers diehard fan, are you okay with that defense?
I'll say yes with some reservations.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's Mookie Betts. Like, he's one of the best top 10 players in the world. I have to think he went in offseason and really worked on his fundamentals at shortstop. I don't think he just sat back and rested on that, hey, I'm pretty doggone good. I think he's going to have a good spring at short. But I'm also willing to be patient with him if that's what they want to do long-term with him. I am more concerned with the outfield. I mean, Edman would be, he's pretty good. I like Ed. We fell in love with Tommy Edman. I like Pages, but I think a second year in center is going to help him. And then our corner outfielders, that's tough. I mean, I don't think we're nearly as bad as the Phillies were with Schwarber and those guys, but that is going to be something to watch. I mean, corner outfielders are really important. And your center fielder's got to be your captain. Is Pages ready to be a captain of the outfield? I don't know. I think Edman is, but that's going to be interesting. And Muncy to me is serviceable at third. He got better throughout the season. Yeah, and then luckily you've got Freddie Freeman, who's a former Gold Glove winner. He can scoop up anything. So that's going to be interesting to watch. I really have not thought about our defensive side of things, and that's where you win and lose games.
Can be. We saw that in the World Series last year. So, Coach, hey, I know you're very busy. I know you're getting ready to get the most important part of your season ready to go, and hopefully ready to win another national title. As you mentioned, you won 3 in a row there back in the past. So, hey, any final thoughts here on Dodgers Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network before we get to our Down on the Farm segment?
Yeah, a couple of things. One, love your hat.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that sweet?
Love the hat.
The
2,
branding's awesome.
My brothers, yeah. Great hat. 2, my brother just played, is a high school coach in Southern California. He just played at Saugus High School. The PA announcer's the baseball coach, is a huge Dodger fan. Mm-hmm. He says he knows about Dodgers Daily, so he's going to start tuning in more. My buddy Izzy just bought tickets to watch the Boston Red Sox Dodgers series. I can't believe what he spent. I will not call him out on that, but no, let's look forward to a great spring training. I'm excited. So good job. Have a great session with the farm, down on the farm, and thank you for having me on.
Coach, thanks, man. See you later.
Hey.
All right. Thanks, Coach Berokoff. So we've talked to Coach Holt. We've talked to Coach Berokoff. I always enjoy getting to talk to those two very highly trained young men. I will use the term young men because they always have great perspectives. I learn a lot every time I get a chance to talk to them. And I also love getting to communicate with you wonderful Dodgers Dawgs out there. Guy Smithson, thank you so much for joining. CT3, the clubhouse thing, the player not productive is too much and overblown in youth and development. BC, I don't think you need to worry about him making another MLB team. Sandman Largic, next MLB CBA will have 28, 42 man. Talking about the number on rosters. So guys like Paez, CT3 Outman can have a spot. History Man, this is a good point here. I like this point. History Man always brings the A game here. This is the first offseason in a while where there's not a lot of pressure on the team. Maybe the offseason going into 2021 wasn't that rough, but this offseason going into 2025 has really been smooth, especially when you get all of your A-team targets, no doubt about that. So for us, we can relax, enjoy a game, not be, I mentioned this all last year. Coach Berokoff called me out on it several times, rightfully so. Just enjoy the process. That's what History Man's talking about. I think this year, like all my shows last year, if you go back, it was like, yeah, but what are they going to do? How are they going to get ready for this in the postseason? I related everything to the postseason. So maybe now, even a brain like mine can go, yeah, it's April, or let's say it's May 29th or June 3rd. I can just be in the moment now and just enjoy watching the greatest player of our generation, Shohei Ohtani, play, or Tyler Glasnow, or the best catcher in baseball. I can just enjoy that moment instead of sitting there fretting about what's going to happen 3 or 4 months later in the postseason. And I think History Man's right. That's going to allow somebody like me, and maybe you can hear my Dodgers Dawgs in the background having a fit, enjoy the moment a little bit more instead of just fretting about what's going to happen in the postseason. So, hey, what we're going to do now is we are going to get to our Down the Farm segment, okay? And we are going to cover, again, a bunch of guys that maybe you haven't heard of, that you need to hear of more. Ryan Zabrat, Antonio Knowles, Damon Keith, Carlos Duran, GLP, Griffin Lockwood Powell. These are all guys you're going to see in spring training, and they're all guys you need to know who they are because they're all very good. Matter of fact, several of them are going to start with AAA Oklahoma City. So with that, let's not waste more time. Let's take a trip down the farm.
At first, I still wanted to be a starter, but looking back, I would say I was definitely more of a thrower than a pitcher, and I wasn't throwing enough strikes to be a starter. So I fully understood the switch, even though I may not have liked it at first. But I feel like I've just bought into the role, and I feel like I've adopted the new role, and I not to say that I don't miss starting, but I'm happy with pitching out of the bullpen.
You're definitely not a side armor because you don't get on the side of the ball, but you do kind of have a 3/4 slot, if you will, kind of a side slot, but you still stay on top of the ball, which allows you to throw that slider. So is that accurate? And talk about your stuff.
Yeah, so in the pitching world, we would call it a low 3/4 slot. And Yeah, so something I never knew until joining with the Dodgers is that I do stay on top of the ball from being over there. So I used to throw a lot of two seams and try and sink it and make it move as much as I could. And then since joining the team or joining the Dodgers and figuring out metrics and whatnot, switched to the four seam fastball to get that straight backspin to where it carries through the zone. And then I think just off of that, both the slider and the changeup have been playing better with the better fastball.
Have you always had the really good slider?
No, the slider's honestly been the biggest work in progress throughout my pitching career.
Wow.
Where in high school, I threw a curveball, the spike curveball. And then I got to college and the seams got a lot smaller.
Yeah.
I was having trouble gripping it. So then I tried moving to the slider, and it took me a good 2 years to figure out how to do it, where I'd say that COVID season is when I started to figure it out. And since then, it's still been a work in progress, just messing with different grips. But yeah, like you were saying, the arm angle definitely helps with the deception of it and how it appears to move to the hitter.
Slider that I mentioned, the Conchinator, it is an elite pitch. It's just fantastic for you. I know one of your goals, though, was to get some more swing and miss with your four seam this year, and then also to get that cutter in on left-handers. So tell us where your stuff's at right now.
So yeah, when I'm kind of going in a groove, I was on one about two weeks ago, went on a nice little stint. When I'm getting that
They're
cutter,
called heaters, right?
Yeah, when I'm getting that cutter and the sinker in zone early, it kind of just opens up the slider to where the ones in the dirt, they start swinging at, because I'm ahead in the count and have shown that I can get the fastballs in the zone. So that's just kind of been my biggest thing going into every outing, is trying to get that first pitch, second pitch strike in the zone with the heater.
You're definitely a guy that loves adrenaline. You love the late moments of games, and that brings you confidence, doesn't it?
Yeah, when I first
TV analyst
turned
for the
into a
Pokes.
reliever, I got put in the
This
closer
one
role,
sent back up
and
the
I was a
box.
starter my whole
Braden
life,
Smith
and I definitely
takes
think I like being
on-
a reliever better, just because of those high pressure moments where game's kind of on the line and there's nobody there really to like pick you up. It's kind of just you and the three outs ahead of you, and you just got to get it done.
So, okay, things that you think that you're good enough at right now to be a consistent major leaguer. On the other end of that, what is one thing, maybe a set of things that you think that you need to continue to work on?
I think right now the thing that's going to get me to the big leagues, same thing that got me drafted, it's going to be my slider. I think it's probably my best pitch by far. I mean, I throw it 65, 70% of the time, which is super high for an off-speed pitch. And then I just think the main thing for me to make that next jump of going from here to triple or the big leagues is getting those fastballs in zone and just being able to constantly be ahead of hitters to where when I'm throwing my slider for chase, they're now chasing after it, and it's not in 1-0 or 2-0 counts to where they can kind of lay off of it. So I think just the aspect of getting those heaters in zone early, I think once I really get that control down, I think it'll be sky's the limit from there.
You signed at a very young age, the age of 16. Of course, it's a little bit different for international players. International players tend to sign quite a bit younger than American players do, but 16 is a very, very young age. So what was it like signing with the Dodgers at such an early age?
Él dice que tú sabes que la manera en que los peloteros firman en Latinoamérica, ellos firman a los 16 años, que es mucho más diferente aquí en los Estados Unidos. Él dice, para ti, firmar tan joven con un equipo como los Dodgers, ¿cómo te sentiste usted con eso?
Ese fue uno de los mejores momentos míos, porque fue el mismo día que el hermano mayor mío cumple años, y ese fue el regalo que como mayormente yo le di. Y mi mamá y mi papá llorando muchísimo, yo también, porque eso era algo que eso era lo que yo deseaba, porque yo le decía, yo algún día tengo que llegar a ser como los otros, y gracias a Dios lo estoy logrando.
It was a very special day for him, because just so happens the day that he signed happened to be his older brother's birthday. And he took it as a gift to his family, a gift to his brother of all the hard work he's put in. And he just, everybody was very emotional that day, crying, etc. But it was a very special day for him and his family.
I'm sure it was. Now, did you play 2019 in the States, or were you in the Dominican Summer League then?
En 2019, ¿tú jugaste aquí en los Estados Unidos o tú jugaste en la Liga Dominicana?
Aquí en los Estados Unidos.
He played here stateside.
You have the big fastball. It's really fast, and then you have the really, really good slider, and you have a good curveball. And as you said, you are developing the changeup and trying to get the feel for that every single day you go out. But 2021, you threw a lot of pitches. So talk about all of the work that you got in 2021. Were you tired at the end of the year?
Él dice, tú sabes que tú tienes muchos lanzamientos buenos, la recta, el slider, la curva, y estás aprendiendo el cambio. Él dice, pero en 2021 tú tiraste mucho lanzamiento. Si al fin del año tú estabas bien cansado, ¿cómo te sentiste al fin del año?
Bueno, esa fue una de las experiencias más largas que yo tuve ese año, porque no había tirado tanto inning así, pero al final ya me sentía bastante cansado, pero en mi mente y el apoyo que mis padres me daban, que era que terminara fuerte ya, que yo iba a tener un buen tiempo para descansar, y entonces eso me llevaba a motivación, a yo seguir luchando para terminar fuerte.
He said, yeah, you're right. He threw a lot. He did throw a lot of pitches. And yes, towards the end of the season, he was tired. He says, but, he had a lot of, the way he was prepared and the way he prepared for the season and the support from his family, his representatives, as well as the staff with the Dodgers, he was able to get through it. And, he knew that after the season, then he would get some time to take some time to really rest and relax before picking it up again.
You made a splash when you came back. You had the 2 walk-offs. I was here for the one of them. It was really cool. That last at bat, I was with my wife, and I was like, he's getting ready to hit a walk-off. So I got my phone out. Super cool deal. So it was against the same pitcher, man. That was the coolest thing ever, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah. No, that was definitely special getting back here and, having the home stadium debut and to have that happen, twice. Even once is something crazy, but to have it happen twice in the same week off of the same guy, it was definitely surreal, and it was awesome to be able to do that here.
And especially just getting back and just kind of having all that excitement too.
Yeah, definitely getting back into it. It was definitely something to get you going a little bit.
Talk about the instruction and the culture in the system, how that's helped you.
Oh, it's next to none. You hear everybody talk about it, and you don't really fully understand it until being in it, and even me being here for a couple of years, it feels like I'm learning something new or picking something up new, the next day. And, they definitely have something good going, and they got staff, trainers, coaches, everything top to bottom to prepare people and get them ready, and they definitely do really good job at that.
We know you can hit. We know you can hit bombs. We know your exit velos are absolutely elite. I've posted about that several times. I think one thing that people don't realize about Damon Keith is the foot speed. So is that kind of an underrated part of your game?
Yeah, I would say so. I've heard it a couple of times for some people, and people got on me, and even some of the teammates, they've been getting on me to run a little bit more, because I definitely can for sure. But I get it from a lot of people, and they look at me the first time, they never think I can run as quick as I do. So definitely need to put that to good use a little bit more.
Okay, man. You grew up in this system, so you would know. What are some things right now, or what is the thing that you think that is good enough in your game right now to be a consistent major leaguer?
Oh, man. I mean, honestly, the one thing that's, more consistent for me is just showing up and just working. That's always been the thing, that I've been taught growing up, and just how I was raised. So, I mean, it's just something that's always stuck with me, and that definitely helps me, along the way, getting through everything, the ups and the downs of it for sure.
Your sequencing is just next level this year. So it just kind of looks like to me, the way that you're throwing your slider, your fastball plays off of it, it just seems to me like you're totally bought into the sequencing that you're using this year.
Yeah, definitely something I was trying to learn last year in Rancho. I had Joel Peralta, who's a big influence on that, who was teaching me how to sequence pitches and set hitters up. And, I also got to give a lot of credit to my catchers, rushing here, done a great job with that. And Lorenzo. I think Lorenzo is a really good catcher and knows how to pregame and knows how to set hitters up, and I think he did a great job at that too when I was in Great Lakes.
You had a chance to talk to him about being in the Futures game? Tyrone we're talking about?
I haven't yet. No, I did congratulate him. He said thank you, but I haven't had a conversation with him. But
okay.
It's good for him.
To kind of go with your sequencing, your slider's always been good.
Yes.
But this year it just seems like it's just taken a big leap. And kind of what I've got to see in person a couple times now, it just seems like you're able to manipulate it into different shapes based on the count, whether you need to throw for a strike, a swing and miss, that kind of thing. So take us to through all the process of how you got the slider to where it's at now and how you use it.
Yeah, definitely a lot of work went into that one during the off season. With my dad and I, we actually built a mound in the backyard.
Nice.
So that was something that was a cool addition to the backyard, and also to help better my game as a pitcher. And so we would watch a lot of videos, analytical videos. We would watch Trevor Bauer actually, how he manipulated his slider and how he got. And also in the sequencing, his videos, like he'll be on the mound talking about, all right, I'm gonna set slider here and then fastball to freeze him off of that. Like, so a little bit of that too kind of came from him as well. So yeah, that was kind of what we did there in the off season. It was just a lot of learning.
It's really cool in this game because best laid plans very rarely ever work out. So you kind of go and you work on something, you put out a game plan, then it actually works. That's kind of cool, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's been actually talking about learning something and then going into the game and using it. I just started learning to split.
Oh yeah.
So my last outing, I threw my first split in game. So I threw probably 5 in a bullpen, and then they're like, all right, we'll use it only like when you really had to count like 0-2, 1-2, and I was in the 0-2 count. I had the split ready, and they called it, and it was for strike 3, swing and miss right over it. And so it's something my new pitch I'm starting to develop now is a split.
Getting some tips from Lucas and Kendall on that pitch?
I haven't yet, no. I just D's teaching me how to throw right now. I will get some tips from Peralta because he's a big split guy.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I didn't know. I knew Lucas do one, but I didn't know Kendall. So I'll ask them for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so it's one thing to put a game plan together. It's one thing to work on different shapes of your slider. It's one thing to talk about all the sequencing. It's another to go out on a professional mound and actually execute. So how are you able to put all that stuff together as part of the process, building your pitch mix, and then also high-level execution?
Yeah, I think it just comes from understanding how my pitches play off each other, and how, I think as a pitcher you got to understand like the ranking of your pitches. If I know my fastball's in the 1 spot, sliders 2, and just kind of keep breaking them down like to the bottom, so you understand in certain counts. Like if you're gonna go down, like what pitch you want to go down with? Your number 1 pitch, your 2 pitch, or you're gonna give them like, just understanding that. Yeah,
so you mentioned, all of that kind of stuff. So how much of your own game planning do you do?
I do a good amount. I watch video on hitters and just kind of understand like what pitches they hit well and what their cold zone is. And, they do a really good job here in the organization of giving us that information.
Yeah.
So I get that before the game, and I'll review it and stuff. But I also like to watch videos before.
So the analytics are crazy, the Hawkeye systems, the TrackMan. I mean, you could have every single inch of every pitch that you throw. I mean, it's overwhelming, and the Dodgers don't cram it down your throat. But yet you're a very analytical young man. You can tell that you like to analyze how this works, how that works, so you can improve your execution and your sequences. So tell us about the mix of analytics, how you use them for you.
Yeah, so I use it not during my outings or like during bullpens, but like maybe afterwards I'll look at it and be like, okay, that fastball was good just because of this, and so is that slider. But I'm not too deep into it, just because it is my second year of like pitching. So I just kind of go out there and compete, and what I have that day, like just kind of shove it down their throat, like. But the analytical stuff is cool, but I don't get lost in it.
Do you miss taking BP at 5 o'clock?
I mean, I never really done that. It was more like, during college, we kind of did it, but it wasn't too often. But.
I was going to say, you probably miss it at 5 o'clock, but not at 7 o'clock, because pitchers are really good nowadays, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what things right now do you think that you're doing well enough? Let's say that you get the call tomorrow, like Justin Robleski did.
Yeah.
They say, hey, you're going to give us a spot start up with the major leagues. It's happened before. Emmett Sheehan came straight from AA. Michael Grove came straight from AA. So if they called tomorrow and said you're going to be in the major leagues, your next start, what things do you think you're doing well enough right now to pitch in the major leagues?
I think I just, keep the same game plan of attacking the zone. Who's ever in the box doesn't really matter. Well, in the sense it does, but like pitching my strengths.
Yes.
I'm gonna go down with my best stuff, and so I think if I were to be in that situation, I think the game really just keep it the same, nothing too crazy, and pitch my strengths.
Bet on yourself, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What things would you say that, hey, if I'm going to be a consistent major leaguer and they're going to ask me to make, like, say, 20, 25 starts in a row, what things do you think you need to improve on the most?
I think Definitely in zone fastball throughout the year. I think I got to get it more in zone, higher percentage on that. I think my walk rate's pretty good right now, so I think just kind of be consistent with that, and just filling up the zone with all pitches.
Would you say your fastball plays off of your slider, or does your slider play off your fastball?
My fastball plays off my slider.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Okay. So last question for me, Christopher.
Oh, no. My slider plays off my fastball. I said that wrong. Sorry.
Let me ask that again. Would you say that your Would you say that your fastball plays off your slider, or does your slider play off your fastball?
My slider plays off my fastball.
You don't get drafted, and so here's a young man from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. You went to Central Michigan. You've always been in cold environments. I'm not sure if you've ever been to L.A. and you sign a undrafted free agent signing with Los Angeles, which meant you could choose the Dodgers. So why did you choose them?
Well, I would say it's less of a choice. There's always been, throughout my whole baseball career, I feel like I've been overlooked in a way.
Yeah.
And obviously, like I said, I didn't play up to my standards after I got thumb surgery. So there wasn't a bunch of teams calling. The Dodgers I've actually, at that point, had been talking to off and on for a few years. There were some combos a couple years prior to my first draft eligible year and whatnot. So I was comfortable with them. And the Dodgers do a very good job of finding guys that are undervalued, not looked at by a ton of teams, and they do a great job of developing those guys. As you know, there's a ton of them. I mean, look at Jack Dreyer. He's on the 40-man now. He was undrafted in my same class. Yep. Austin Gauthier, Orlando Ortiz. He just got Rule 5. So I mean, they consistently do that with guys. So I owe a lot to the Dodgers and how they develop me and how they give me a chance to play professional baseball.
Yeah, and talking about developing and playing professional baseball, one thing that sticks out about you is just your balance. You're versatile on defense, so you have balance there in terms of positional versatility, but really the way you play offense. I mean, last year, your center field percentage and your oppo percentage were like exactly the same, right? So you've learned how to use the entire field. So where did that hitting approach come from?
It must just be since when I was a kid, because obviously the old school train of thought at least when I was growing up, is hit the ball the other way, right? See the ball deep. And it's good to think that way. Like some guys can just get the ball up front consistently and just hit pull side and hit well. I am not one of those guys. I need to see the ball deep. I need to think more right center. The minute I start trying to get the ball up front consistently, I get these rollovers. I get balls off the end. I go through 30 bats in a year. Yeah, I go through 30 bats in a year. So I got to see the ball deep and I got to think right center. And that's when my swing plays the best. It just kind of flows a little bit better when I think that.
So this time last year, you're looking at being at AA Tulsa, and you catch some. And then that team had Brandon Lewis, and it had all sorts of different guys that could play first base. And then obviously you had Diego Cartaya and Dalton Rushing. So this time last year, were you sitting around wondering how you're going to get all your bats?
I mean, yeah, right. Like, this is what we do. We think about these things. I try not to think about those as much because I can't control that, right? I just try to go do what I can do, show up in the spring in the best shape I can possibly be, and prove that I'm worthy of getting these at-bats, right? So I knew just based off the previous years that catching probably wasn't going to be my primary position in the beginning of the year because that's how it was years past. But I knew that time was coming at some point. So you just have to stay ready. And even in high school, early years of high school, like I was coming off the bench, getting late pinch hit AB. So I'm kind of used to finding ways to put together good ABs, even when it's been a while since I got my last AB. But yeah, I mean, looking around, obviously you're like, what's it going to be? But Henny found good spots to put me in. And I appreciate him for that because he consistently put me in there. Good game, bad game, I was in there. So that was helpful to know a little bit more this year that, hey, you're going to be in the lineup every day. Yeah.
Fast forward, Diego Cartaya gets promoted first, and then Dalton Rushing gets promoted first. So was there a sit-down conversation from the organization with you and Janer that you guys are going to have to catch more, or is it just one of those deals to where it was pretty obvious and nobody needed to say anything?
It was pretty obvious, right? Because we were the only two there that could catch. And I love to catch. I've been catching, like I said, since I was 13, but there's always been this kind of thought that I'm not able to catch. And I'm not saying somebody's saying that, but like just based off opportunities. And I want to prove that I can catch.
Sure.
Because that's a big position, a lot of responsibility, and I want to take that responsibility on. So I was excited Happy for those guys, obviously, that they got promoted. But I was happy I got to catch, and towards the back half of the year, I did catch quite a bit. So that was fun.
So you're working with constant promotions, new pitchers, guys that are redefining themselves seemingly every single, Ben Kasparius was that way. He just continued to redefine himself until he became what he is now. So what's that like as a catcher whenever you're having to deal with that many different variables?
Yeah, the pitching coaches obviously help out a ton. Duran and Denick helped out an incredible amount. They have the best scouting reports, and obviously David Anderson the year before. They're unbelievable with that, but it helps a little bit when you catch some of these guys in spring training as well, right? I like to keep notes, like if I catch a bullpen or somebody's live that I haven't caught before, maybe just it doesn't have to be anything crazy, right? But just notes like what the guy throws, what he likes to do. And most guys, once they get to that AA level, kind of know what they want to do to certain hitters. So it puts each hitter in a box in a way. But yeah, like Orlando, it felt like he had 30 different pitches. Yeah. So he was an interesting one to catch for sure, but he could throw all his pitches for strikes. So if I put something down that he didn't want to throw, like he knows what he wants to throw. So that made it a little easier. But yeah, I mean, just kind of studying up a little bit, knowing your pitcher. I think knowing your pitcher is more important than knowing the hitter, because say a hitter can't hit breaking balls, but your pitcher can't throw a breaking ball for a strike, you're not going to, you know what I mean? You're not going to throw that breaking ball. So you got to know your pitcher a little bit as well.
I like to ask this of professional catchers too. They're teaching now, of course, the one knee thing, that's fine. But then teaching, starting with your glove at the bottom and working up through the ball, right? So have you found that framing pitches actually works as you go up the minor league level, or are the umpires too good for that?
No, it does work. It does work. You can steal some pitches. They're not going to be as egregious. Like I remember in high school, I mean, there'd be a pitch halfway in the other batter's box. I'd bring back in the zone and it's a strike. I'm like, that's sick. But yeah, I actually focused a little bit more on that this year. Craig Driver and Rocky Gale were really adamant on that, working up to the ball. And spring training, I'm sure I was just clanking every ball. They were probably like, what is this guy even doing? Trying to work on it. But then we also had Jordan Proeschen, our catching coach and bullpen coach in Tulsa. So he helped me out a ton. Me and him would work pretty much every day. I mean, towards the end, every day for sure, because I was catching almost every day. He helped me out a ton, just kind of making me understand what to do in certain pitches, certain times of the, you know what I mean? So yeah, there were some good people helping out, but yeah, it took me a while to figure out, and I'm still learning about it as we go. But